Good morning, good afternoon, and evening to everyone else in different time zones. Welcome to the highly anticipated YALDA webinar, Building Regional Networks in Africa Through Intellectual Property Rights and Cybersecurity. My name is Fidel Swaha, and I'll be your I'm YALDA's US team member, and I'll be today's moderator for this session. Before we begin, before we begin, let's look over the guide for the webinar etiquette. When you enter the roundtable, make sure you are on mute and remain on mute throughout the entire session. And ensure your camera is off. Type your questions or comments in the chat box. Put your name and country. Those who questions or comments are selected will be asked to unmute and speak. If you are asked to speak, you must introduce yourself by name and country. Only then and then repeat the question or comment you typed in the chat box. Now, intellectual property and cybersecurity are interlinked by their common goal to protect the interests of the global community. This means that the safety of one defines the safety and security of the other. However, one is still not enough, as there are several specialized threats exclusively targeting intellectual properties. Building regional networks is important for several reasons in the African continent. One being to support other regional networks, as well as being a place for peer-to-peer support. Here at the Youth Alliance for Leadership Development in Africa, we find it necessary and important to support peer-to-peer webinars for youth who like to express their opinions on how intellectual properties are important to the benefit of development of the African continent, as well as being the adoption and development for better cybersecurity in Africa. Now let's introduce today's speakers. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Suwa Lakita, PhD and legal scholar in intellectual property and law from Morocco. Hello, Lakita. Suwa.
Yes, hello.
Hello. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you. How about you?
I'm fine. I'm feeling a bit nervous today.
Same, same. Well, I want to start by saying, first of all, thank you for having me and for this opportunity to talk about this timely conversation. So, to briefly present myself, I am Suha Laklida. I'm pursuing my PhD in intellectual property law, and I join you today from Morocco. So, again, it's an honor to me to contribute to this exchange, which I believe reflects the very essence of academic and regional collaboration. In short, for my sorry, yeah. So, in short, for my intervention, I will share some reflections of how universities and think tanks in Africa can help close the gap between intellectual property and cybersecurity, especially through regional knowledge sharing and research. I will structure my remarks around three key areas. So, first of all, why intellectual property and cybersecurity must be treated together, and then the central role of the academic institutions in these efforts, and finally, what Morocco is doing, and more importantly, how we can build this work across our continent.
Yeah.
So, let me begin by stating something simple but very essential. There is no protection of innovation without protecting creative works and the digital space where this creative works live.
Oh, yeah.
So, intellectual property rights, whether for inventions, creative works, or trademarks, are designed to protect value and stimulate innovation. But this value today is constantly at risk from cyber attacks.
All right. Let's, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think it's time to move on to the next speaker. Don't-
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry, my bad. Okay. Next we have Infulu Seni Sensei Tavishi Hiyahuvi, founder and CEO of Ecident Technology from South Africa. Hulu? Hulu. Oh, right. Now we have Lorado Madias, intellectual property
Hello.
expert from Botswana.
Oh,
Is that Hulu?
yes, it was me.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
Uh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good.
Um, sorry, I thought my mic was not on mute when you're calling me, so I was speaking on the background. Hi guys. Hi everyone. My name is Mfuruseni Sense Chiviauri. I'm from South Africa. I'm the founder and the CEO of Double Easy Technology, which is a brand and software consulting firm that helps companies to leverage software development and brand strategies to build better solution for their businesses. And we also do solution that caters secure by design. Hence, I'm in here to talk about leveraging cybersecurity for better Africa and how we can use it in order to secure ourselves, and how is it important for this initiative in the table. Thank you.
All right. Okay, next we have Lorado Madias, an intellectual property expert from Botswana.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, Mr. Moderator. Let me just start by extending my heartfelt thanks for the invitation to speak today. I'm Lorato Medise from Botswana. I'm currently working with Limco Queen University of Creative Technology as a trainer, and I'm also a seasoned speaker in intellectual property matters as an alumni of the African Regional Intellectual Property and WIPO sponsorships of the Masters in Intellectual Property. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Now here comes Sukena Risky, founder and managing partner at Risky Law Firm, also from Morocco.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank the organizer. Sorry, I have to turn on the video. Okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
Take your
Yeah,
time.
no problem. Just so I will start so the video will work.
Okay, I can see you.
Yes. You. So now, can you see me?
Yes. Yeah, but you're kind of cutting off on your screen.
Sorry.
Sorry, just that your picture has been, freezing. Your camera's been freezing a bit.
Okay. Okay. So my name is Sukena Rizki. I'm a lawyer, and I'm based in Casablanca, in Morocco, and I'm practicing intellectual property law, digital law, and cyber regulation in Morocco. with particular focus on trademarks, copyrights, and cybersecurity. I'm honored to be part of this important regional conversation on intellectual property rights and cyberspace. And the topic that I will talk about today is the cybersecurity policy gaps and their impacts on intellectual property.
And I've also been to Casablanca before, twice.
Good. Where exactly? So you visit all the Casablanca, I think.
Well, I've been there for only a day whenever I'm traveling to Nigeria for Christmas
Okay.
every few years.
Okay. So Casablanca changed. You have to visit it again.
Mhm. Now we have Inde Senabu C, legal expert and member directors, founds of development funds of Universal Telecommunication Service from Senegal. Oh, Inde's not here? Okay. Well, now we have Faith Amatika Omandi, intellectual property expert from Kenya.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of YALDA for inviting me to this webinar. As you have said correctly, I'm an intellectual property law expert from Kenya. I hold a master's degree in IP law, which I acquired in 2020 from Ankara, Turkey, and this was offered by the World Intellectual Property Organization as well as the Turkish Patent and Trademark Office. So currently I work at ICIPE. ICIPE is the International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology, which is based in Nairobi, Kenya. I work there as a senior legal officer. And before that, I worked in the IP office, the Copyright Office of Kenya, and another organization also, which was dealing with genetic resources. So I'm glad and happy to be part of this webinar to learn also from my fellow panelists and from the other participants issues relating to cybersecurity and intellectual property. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now we have Mira Anwar, an intellectual property lawyer from Egypt. Let's see, Mira. Oh, it appears Mira is not here today. And now we have Farina Ate Abdallah, software developer, Itoto News and International, also from Kenya.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Farida Atei Abdallah, software developer from Total News International. At Total News International, we leverage in tech and media. We make children's voices to be visible. Yeah. So also I'm a trainer. Usually train people on matters on online safety and also digital literacy on how to navigate in the digital world. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Now then, and now then, for each, okay, uh, each speaker, ask one speaker one by one to respond to this question as arranged in the presentation. Keep in mind that each speaker will have 3 minutes to respond and 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 to wrap up in about 30 seconds if they go over 3 minutes. Now then, let's start with Suwa.
Yes, hello again.
Yes. So, oh, actually, sorry. Faith. No, Sua. Yes.
Okay, so should I start?
Yeah. So Sua.
Yes, okay, thank
How
you.
can regional collaboration in Africa strengthen both intellectual property protections and cybersecurity frameworks to foster innovation and safeguard digital economies in the post-COVID era?
Yeah, so I think that universities and the states also play a key role in doing so. And I think from a legal scholar point of view, I really rely on universities for this matter. So I have 3 points that are very important to me that I think that research centers and universities should have like as main areas. First of all, legal research and regional dialogue. So I believe that we urgently need a more comparative legal studies on intellectual property cybersecurity laws as to support harmonization. As we know, we have, for example, the African Continent Free Trade Area, or the Malibu Convention also, which, by the way, less than half African countries have ratified. So the protection remains very much incomplete when it comes to the cybersecurity, though we can say that mainly all the countries can align with these norms. Still, the second point for the institutional point for the institutional matter is the regional knowledge sharing platforms. So again, I really rely on the role of institutions and research structures to do so. Of course, research is not just about knowing or producing knowledge, but also about sharing it. So the universities can lead by creating cross-border platforms, shared databases, and joint trainings in intellectual property and cybersecurity. They can also guide policymakers and solid data, especially with Africa still ranking on the lowest global cybersecurity index according to the ITU 2023 reports. So one major point for me is the education and human capital. We need to build a generation of legal experts who understand and have deep knowledge, if I may say, about both digital law and intellectual property law through interdisciplinary programs, legal clinics, and sometimes regional exchanges and collaborations involving young researchers. This point I personally value because I think these initiatives can bring together voices from around continents, which allows us to have a deeper knowledge about the needs and to connect with policy, national and international.
Right.
So when it comes to, yeah, should I continue?
You can wrap up a bit.
Okay. So just a reminder about what Morocco has done. So we have l'ONPIC, the Moroccan Office of Industrial and Commercial Property for modernizing the IP system, and the DGSSI, which is the General Directorate of Information Security System that reinforces the digital infrastructure. I think we need more harmonization, more work together, more collaboration between institutions in Morocco and across the region. And just a little fact that Morocco channels more than 85% of its foreign investments into the rest of African continents in fields including tech, banking, and telecom. That both require intellectual property and cybersecurity. So I really believe in the link between the two. I believe that we should work between intellectual property and cybersecurity. We should not treat them as two pieces that are individual, and also a collaboration between researchers and research structures all over the continent.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. Now we have Mfaluseni. How can regional collaboration in Africa strengthen both intellectual property protections and cybersecurity frameworks to foster innovation and safeguard digital economies in the post-COVID era?
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I think you agree with me that today's discussion is especially very relevant now at the time that we are in the post COVID time, and also that there is a boom in Africa of digital presence where we are, most of us are actually online. So I'll first would like to actually define fully how we can actually leverage all different technologies like your blockchain, artificial intelligence, digital identity systems to both protect intellectual property and enhance cybersecurity. I think that's your question, right? Before I can just go on.
Yes.
Okay, so to firstly, I would like to first just break down what each terminology actually mean. So I'll start off with blockchain, which is a decentralizing technology that secures record or translation in a way that it's easy for us to actually have secure transition, and we are also able to secure our documents, our files, and all these things. Like all these systems of the blockchain actually help us to prevent the one, theft; two, be able to reserve our data and preserve it in a secured place. And then number two, we have AI, which is artificial intelligence. the Oftentimes people refer it as the new baby, but it's not so new because this thing has been growing since I think 1960. So it has been on the presence of us. But what does it do? It's more like a system that can help you analyze data, and it learns different patterns and also make intelligent decision, which it also plays a crucial role in cybersecurity by also detecting threats, and it enforces and help us to enforce the intellectual property rights automatically, depending on what are those rights and what are the laws do we have in that specific country, in that specific continent. So all this two actually play crucial role in securing our data and also learning the patterns and giving us future prediction on how things can work for us or work against our favor. So it's up for us to actually analyze the data and learn the patterns. Three, which is digital identity systems. So, so these systems happens in there are systems that are actually happens for both individual and organizations. Individual, I'm saying a person as a jurisdics, and also organizations as jurisdics. So these are essential for uh, safely um, for us to actually have a safe access to our service, and also agreements, and also something called authentication, IP ownership. I think, well, I'm still there. There's something that I would like to talk about. It's called CIA tried, which is in definition, it's confidentiality. I don't know how to say this word correctly, but it's confidentiality, something like that. And then second, it's integrity, and the third one is availability. I'll define age. So defining age, confidentiality, it's actually, it speaks a lot about owns information or owns data, right? You are actually have the right to actually preserve your data and also be able to access your data at any specific time you want to access that data. But this data is specifically tailored for you. I'll make an example for that. Um, let's say there's a system that are like a bank where you are and you are able to see all the information that are belonging to you, and there's no one in the bank that is not part of the bank or someone that have a warrant that can actually access your information without the right to access your information, right? Then we have integrity, which is more of you are, let's say, still when we making an example of a bank, you are able to see all the transaction that happens for you, and no one else it's able to have logins to your platforms and see what you have in your platform. So the information that is there, it's specifically for you. You don't see the information for the whole bank, but you see the information that is specific for you. If in your bank you have R5, you are able to see that R5 or $5, but you are not going to see someone's $10 or $2 unless they show it to you themselves. But it actually speaks of the information that is given, it's actually being accessed by you. And the last one is um, availability and or accessibility. So this one is where every time you are looking for your data, when we're still on an example of a bank, let's say you are looking to get your information, you're looking to get your bank statement. When you get into that system, you want to find your bank statement. If you want to get into a system and you want to make a transaction or you want to pay, you assume that immediately when you get into the system, you want to get your money. So that's how it must work. Like you must get the money always at any time, right? Then now let's get to a part where we answer this. How do African investors use the technologies for IP protection and cybersecurity? So in most countries where IP registration is low, like most countries in Africa, where IP registration is low, expensive, and inaccessible, blockchain can actually lower the lower the barrier and actually give us a better solution that we can use. I've got a friend who's from Nigeria called Chris. So he actually introduced me to this other. We were working on another system, and then it was like, no, my friend, when we do this, we need to leverage blockchain smart contracts, and we can just hash and register our source code on blockchain platforms. Uh, this one will help us to actually have the authority or the ownership of the product. We can be able to download it at any time, and then we can be able to protect it at any time. You cannot be able to, if it's our information together, one of us cannot be able to break into that information without my agreement that I'm agreeing that, okay, into this system, you can be able to log into it, and then you can be able to change 1, 2, 3, because blockchain is actually built into different blocks depending on how many layers do we want. If we are securing a document today, tomorrow we put another document, it actually creates another chain. another block with another chain that protects that. And as for AI for cybersecurity and law enforcement, so AI tools can help us to monitor the networks for abnormal activities and alert different type of innovators and people or the citizen and the people that of the continent to actually understand about data breaches and attempted of IP theft. For an example, not so long in South Africa. For an example, not so long in, did I take all the time?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
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 Should I continue or?
We can move on.
Okay. So I was still saying, in AC, not so long, I think 2 weeks ago, no, a week ago, there's a company called the giant of network in Africa called MTN that actually suffered a data breach, which and in also in Feb, there's a company called CLC. It's also another telecommunication company that also suffered data breach. This is where we ask questions of so what happens in an instance like this where there's a data breach and then there's our data surfacing on the internet where people are able to see our IDs, as able to see our our contact numbers, our names for their own usage. So this is where we talk about something of developing solution that are actually called secure by design. So whatever solution that we actually building, it must have it have to actually go through different processes. Like if we building a system like that, we need to know or sure who access this. Remember when I mentioned about the CIA threat, we need to know that who's the user, and then how do we actually leverage, how do we actually make the user secure into the system, and then what's in the admin panel, who access it, how do we make that accessible by the network, and not everyone can share the same network in the space. I think for the sake of time, let me end it here for now.
All right. Now we have Lorado.
Good evening again. My first point to the question that was asked, I would also piggyback on the previous speakers to say that, post-COVID era, Africa's digital transformation has also accelerated at an unprecedented pace. As businesses and individuals increasingly operate across borders, the protection of IP and cybersecurity has become a strategic priority. So regional collaboration emerges not only as a tool for resilience, but as a foundational pillar for sustainable innovation and digital economic growth. So my first point to this, I would say we could leverage on already existing regional structures, and we can also draw lessons from these African institutions. Africa is not short of regional structures that promote cooperation, and these can be powerful vehicles for IP and cybersecurity integration. Organizations like the African Union, the South African Development Community, SACU, and the Africa Regional Intellectual Property Organization have really laid critical groundwork. For instance, ARIPO has facilitated shared IP protocols and mutual recognition of rights, which reduces duplication and fosters innovation across member states. Similarly, SADC's model law on cybercrime and cybersecurity provides harmonized policy guidelines that help member countries align on data protection and cybercrime laws. So these structures generally demonstrates that regional integration can yield practical, scalable outcomes. The collaborative mechanism built into these institutions allow countries to pool expertise, share infrastructure, and speak with one voice in an international forum. And especially important as assets in both the IP and cybersecurity landscape. My second point, I would say, harmonization of laws and applying the principle of national treatment. A core strength of regional collaboration lies in harmonizing legal frameworks. So harmonization simplifies compliance, reduces legal uncertainty, and ensures that innovators enjoy equal protection across member states. So in IP law, this leads to the implementation of the national treatment principle, granting foreign right holders the same protection as nationals. To say if from Botswana, if I'm being wronged, for example, in Tanzania, I'll be treated the same as a person in Tanzania, and there won't be any gray areas in regards to that. So I'll be very confident to conduct my business through the borders, knowing that I'll be treated as a national of any other jurisdiction in Africa. So this is essential not only for IP, but also in the realm of cybersecurity, where inconsistent data protection laws across borders can create vulnerabilities and regulatory loopholes. So also with the advent of the African Continental Trade Area, ushering in deeper inter-African trade, harmonized IP and cybersecurity frameworks are no longer a luxury, but a necessity. It is imperative that we have these. So, trust and legal predictability are foundations for digital trade, especially where data, AI-driven tools, and IP-intensive goods flow freely. Post-COVID borderlessness, we found that during the COVID pandemic, it blurred a lot of geographic boundaries and accelerated Africa's entry into the digital global village. What once required travel or manual processes became virtual and instant. So Ghana is now a click away from Gaborone, where I'm at. In between these transactions like goods and services embedded with intellectual property, software designs, media, and sensitive personal commercial data. So these are exchanged through the Internet of Things, cloud platforms, and digital channels, all of which are vulnerable without robust cybersecurity measures. So the interconnectedness demands coordinated protection, these regional infrastructures. The cyber breach in one country can expose stakeholders in another. So we need to cooperate together in a more coordinated regional platform. I think I would stop here for my time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sukena?
Here. Can you see me?
Yeah. Yes, I can see you.
Good. So as I told you, the subject is the cybersecurity policy gaps and their impact on intellectual property protection. And we will talk about Morocco as a case study. In the cybersecurity, especially if I want to discuss about how Morocco's cybersecurity gaps jeopardize intellectual property protection, I should talk about five aspects. The first of them is the strategy taken by the Moroccan government. So the Moroccan National Cybersecurity Strategy aims to secure government and critical infrastructure and foster a safe digital environment. It's outlined four pillars: traits, analysis, system defense, capacity building, and collaboration. And about institution, we have the general Directorate of Information System Security, DGSSI. This administration is a Moroccan-led cybersecurity authority which coordinates national cyber defense and sets security standards for government and critical sectors, monitors threats, and lead public awareness program. So Morocco also created a national computer emergency response team that's called MA-CERT in 2011 to handle cyber incidents and share early warnings globally. And about the international cooperation, Morocco actively cooperates internationally on cybersecurity. And it's one of the few African countries to ratify the Budapest Convention, aligning its laws with global standards and enabling cross-border cooperation. It also participates in initiatives like CyberSol to strengthen cybercrime legislation and has forged partnership with countries like India on training, research, and information sharing, etc. So Morocco has likewise partnered with NATO, including participation in cybersecurity exercises through NATO's Mediterranean dialogue. So these efforts underscore Morocco's role as regional cybersecurity leader in Africa. About the policy gaps in Morocco, which is the title of my intervention today. Despite these efforts, by creating organizations and institutions and international cooperation, Morocco still faces several cybersecurity policy gaps that hinder its ability to protect intellectual property. So the key gaps include outdated strategy. Morocco as a national cybersecurity, Morocco as a national legislator with cybersecurity law in Morocco. Morocco hasn't updated the Moroccan law since 2013 and still focuses mainly on government and critical infrastructure, leaving other sectors like universities and startups inadequately protected. Also, cybercrime laws exist, but enforcement is inconsistent. Limited expertise and unclear digital evidence procedures mean some cyber criminals, including IP thieves, evade punishment and their meaning deterrence.
All right.
So, and also there's no law requires the Moroccan organizations to report breaches. So many incidents go unreported, hiding the true scale of threats and hindering responses.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So also the most companies allocates minimal budgets to cybersecurity, often only increasing spending after an attack, and there's a shortage of qualified professionals to secure systems. And the risk data localization regulation has led companies to keep most sensitive data on local servers and avoid cloud services. This bolsters data sovereignty, but burdens businesses and hampers international collaboration.
Okay.
So the gaps have a bigger impact on intellectual property. The weak cybersecurity makes valuable IP vulnerable. because the hackers and digital pirates exploit security gaps to steal trade secrets, research data, or creative content, robbing creators of their ideas and investment. So, on paper, Morocco has strong IP laws and adheres to international treaties, but its legal framework has not caught up with the digital age. For example, current laws don't clearly cover digital scholarly works like electronics or like electronics or online journals, for example. And they leave universities and researchers vulnerable to digital piracy. So experts urge updating legislation to fill these gaps and better protect academic research.
Yeah.
Weak enforcement of IP rights compounds the problem. In practice, IP laws are often not enforced effectively, so offenders face little risk of punishment. This lack of deterrence discourages innovations and investment. So, for example, if a patented formula or priority code is stolen via cyber attack and used by a competitor, the original creator may struggle to get justice. So I think it's a big subject to talk about all the gaps in Morocco. But what I want to say, if we have the opportunity to make a special webinar about this topic, it will be benefit for us. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to discuss any question and how we can collectively strengthen cybersecurity and intellectual property protection in Morocco and across our region in Africa.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
A question from Ghana, Edward.
Okay, now we have a day. A day? Oh.
From Ghana.
Oh. Okay, now Faith.
Yeah.
Faith?
Thank you, Fidelis.
You're welcome.
So for my... Are you hearing me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I will be very brief for reasons of time. First of all, I will thank my fellow panelists who have already made their contributions to this question. And I will particularly reiterate what was stated by Ms. Modise from Botswana. I highly agree with her on all the points that she said. And in addition to that, I will say that what African states need to do, in addition to what all the other speakers said, is that there needs to be more training and awareness creation to all citizens, whether they are laymen or they're professionals, because issues of cybersecurity are really rampant, and the risks that are associated with data breaches or artificial intelligence gone when we have problems that are associated with artificial intelligence, for example, the creation of deepfakes and other AI-generated, images that may not be well regulated, it may cause serious challenges to the security and even the other areas in the country. And of particular importance, as far as IP is also concerned, I would just like to mention the fact that deepfakes, in a way, when they are not regulated, they are a great infringement to intellectual property. For example, where we have the creation of fake photographs, or where somebody gets photoshopped into an image that has already been created by somebody else, then that is an infringement of copyright, which is already an IP issue. So what needs to be done is that the government needs to invest in addition to training and creating awareness so that people are aware of these effects of deepfakes, which are very rampant, and they are very much related to the cybersecurity issues. Then there is also need to invest in technologies that can detect these deepfakes to make sure that, or to ensure that the people who are affected, and if these matters are reported, for example, to the police, then the police or the other enforcement agencies can be able to detect and know that this is a deep fake and that it affects intellectual property, and it can be dealt with in the right way. The other issue that I would like to also highlight, which was already mentioned by another panelist, I think the one who spoke first, I can't remember her name, I'm sorry, but she mentioned the issue of the ratification or of the Malabo Convention, because as at mid last year, only let's say less than a half of the AU member states had ratified or acceded to the convention. So this means that at a regional or as a continent, the strength of the enforcement capability or capacity of African states is weakened because not many of the member states have ratified that convention. I am aware that most African countries have data protection laws. They have laws on intellectual property. They have laws on cybersecurity and related issues. But then as a region or as a continent, without that collaborative strength, it becomes difficult because cybersecurity and intellectual property issues, much as they are regional, not regional, the enforcement is based on jurisdictions, but the infringement is borderless. When we have an IP infringement in Kenya, it can easily go viral and go global. So if the enforcement mechanisms are not, if all the countries in Africa are not having the same strength in enforcement, then we find that this silo kind of regulation or kind of enforcement becomes counterproductive, because then it cannot really curb the global infringement that may arise with the rise of the risks that are associated with cybersecurity. So I think I will stop there for now in the interest of time, to give time to other panelists to also respond to the question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Now we have Mira. Mira? Oh, okay, so Rita, what's your take?
Hi, can you see me?
Let's see.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, I can see you.
maybe, oh, you can't see me?
Yeah.
I'm waving. You can see me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. If I may break it down, is that how can African countries help each other protect ideas and stay safe online? What I can say is that after COVID-19, people really use the internet a lot. It could be for schoolwork, for work, and maybe at some point for businesses. But with that in mind, we should keep some things in mind, that people's smart ideas are protected, like apps and innovations. They need to be protected. Like for instance, the copyright. It is someone's drawing or story that one has created. Also, we have trademark, company's logo, we have the Nike. Yeah, that one is their identity. We have patent. If someone has come up with something like a toy, they need a patent for that thing to be theirs. So yeah. Also, we have a trade secret, a secret recipe, like how a baker comes up with a recipe and it remains to be theirs. Yeah. So number two, what I can say is that everyone should stay safe online from hackers and cyberbullies. So who is an hacker? A hacker is someone who tries to get into computers, phones, or websites without permission. Yeah, it's like reading someone's diary without their permission. Also, as I mentioned earlier, that cyberbullies are very dangerous people. These are people who say mean words to someone, and also to people, and also they tamper with someone's feelings. And also, we have predators. We should be aware of these people while in the online space. Yeah, so we have predators. These are people who pretend to be nice but want to hurt or trick you. Also, we have doxing. So this is publishing personal someone's information, private information, like their phone number, their password, without their consent, which is very bad. So, for us to do that, we should make sure we stay safe online by creating a strong password. Um, Also, we should think before we click. Any pop-up that comes up to your machine or your gadget, you should think if yeah, is it true? Is it helpful? When you click, will it be helpful or will it cause harm to you? So someone should be very, very careful before clicking any pop-up links. Yeah. So is it inspiring? Does it inspire you in any way? So these are food of thoughts before clicking anything which pops into your computer. Also, you should bear in mind if it's necessary. Yeah. So, what can we as African countries, what can we do, or rather, what can we come together to 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 put these things aside? So, what should we do? So, we should team up and share cybersecurity tools like the antivirus software to stop online attacks. Also, we should come up with rules to protect people's idea so no one steals them. As we all know that whenever there is a rule, there is discipline, because some people usually know when we go astray a certain rule, there is a certain repercussion. Also, so with this, when we'll come up with this, it will make innovators from different part of African feel that their innovations are safe and they'll be able to continue to create new innovations. Uh, Also, businesses will grow. Yeah, we'll have business grow and will make a stronger Africa. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll finish there.
Yeah. Now we have a question for Faith. Given the rise of cyber threats and the increasing value of intellectual assets, what practical steps should African governments and institutions prioritize to build resilient digital infrastructure and enforce IP rights regionally?
Thank you so much again, Fidelis, and thank you for the question. So I will respond by making reference to what I had said earlier in the general question.
Yes. So,
And I will again now emphasize on the issue of deepfakes, because these are the Farida has explained a lot about what happens in the cyberspace and the risks and what happens and what we need to look out for and to watch out for. And I would just like to mention or to emphasize on deepfakes, because in the current digital space, we have this as a major threat. And then the deepfakes are basically AI generated images. It could be an image, it could be a video that appears very real, yet it's not real. And if you're not careful, you may think that it is a real video, it's a real photograph, but it may not be real. And the effect of this is that it may mislead or have an effect of misinforming the public in a way that if it is a video or a photograph or a message, it could even be a message, a written text, it may impact by sending wrong messages, and thus incite, if it's it could be used for like propaganda or anything that is likely to cause panic to the people, to the society, to the community. So you find that these deepfakes may have a very negative impact if they are not addressed, or if the people they are directed to do not understand that this could be a fake, like that, something that is not true. And it happens mostly where we have people of influence, celebrities or politicians, who are being targeted, or who are being used to appear as if they are saying these words, or in a video they appear to be speaking and making these comments. And my research in deepfakes and their applications and the rise of deepfakes has made me to be very cautious about any video or any photograph that I see online. And it makes me very suspicious. Before I believe any video, I am always very cautious to ask myself whether this is real or not. And it's because if this information is taken without consideration, it may lead to people believing something that is wrong and acting on it in a way that may be very negative. For example, if a deepfake is made of a politician who is addressing people and inciting them to violence, maybe to attack another community, if the person or the people who this information is targeting are not careful or are not aware that this may be a deepfake, they may go ahead and act on that, yet it is wrong. And the results, of course, will be very catastrophic. The other way in which deepfakes are used is in pornography. And this really affects the people or the person whose image or whose video is being implicated, because it goes down to this person's personality, and it really affects them. So how is this linked to intellectual property? I had mentioned earlier that deepfakes, since they are photographs mostly and videos, these are copyright works. And in this way, we find that they really affect, they interfere with the copyright of the person who made the video, or who, if, for example, it's a Photoshop. This is now an example of a cheap fake. A cheap fake is one whereby you just have like a Photoshop where you take my head and put it on the body of somebody else, and then it portrays me like, being doing something that is very weird, and people would look at it and say that how could Faith do that? Yet in real essence, that was not me. So it interferes with the first of all, there's the moral right, and then there's the copyright of the person who the original copyright holder of the image that has been interfered with. Or even if it's a video, then it interferes with it. So how can intellectual property be used to regulate this? Of course, there are many other laws that can be used to regulate this use of deepfakes, but one of the ways in which intellectual property or copyright law can be used is that we have, as I mentioned, the issue of moral rights being interfered with. The person whose image has been interfered with, or the copyright holder, can bring a suit or a claim for moral rights infringement, and then they can get redress from court about that. The other way is that there are other laws. For example, in Kenya, and these laws, I'm sure they cut across the board. In Kenya, we have the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, which criminalizes the use or the circulation of information that is not true with the intention to mislead the public. And when such a person is found guilty, the penalty or the sentence is usually either 5 years imprisonment, or sorry, it's a 2 years imprisonment, or a fine of 5 million Kenya shillings. So we find that there are laws that have been put in place to govern this and to regulate this. So I wrote a paper on this, which was published in the Journal of Intellectual Property and Information Technology Law, GPIT, and I can share the link for that paper on the chat so that you can look at it. And in this article, I mentioned that the laws that we have, this was in 2020, and I know that a lot has changed between then and now, because when we're talking about cyber issues and software issues, the technology advances very fast. But my recommendations at that time, which I already mentioned in my previous intervention, one of them was that the government needs to invest in training and awareness creation so that the people are informed and they're made aware of the fact that not every information that you see online is to be believed. And in addition to that, the enforcement agencies need to be trained on the emerging technological issues so that they do not remain in the analog space. They need to be trained on the emerging technological issues, especially regarding cybercrime and artificial intelligence and the risks that are associated with artificial intelligence, because this is where most of the criminals are now thriving in the digital spaces. Because once they can steal your identity, then they can go ahead and get into all your spaces in the under your name. So these are the areas whereby we need the government to really pull up its socks and just invest in training of these forensic experts to understand how this technology is moving and what the best thing is to do in order to curb any kind of infringement or any kind of risk that may be coming up in the cyberspaces with the current technological advancements. The other one, which I had mentioned earlier, is of course the strength. There is strength in speaking with one voice. In Europe, we have the GDPR, which now is like a global data protection law. It has gained effect throughout the world due to what is usually known as the Brussels effect. We have the EU AI Act. In Africa, we have several AI strategies which are being implemented by many countries. Kenya launched its quite recently, I think 2 weeks ago or a month ago. And then recently, we also had this AI summit in Rwanda, in Kigali, where we had a lot of discussions and a lot of information that was going on. We also have the continental AI strategy, which is also out there, but there is need to have a unified voice as Africa and a way in which Africa will be speaking and saying that this is what we are doing, instead of just relying on what the West is doing and then coming up behind and saying that now for us, this is what we are going to do. Africa needs to stand up and speak with its own voice, with its own strong voice, in addition to ratifying and acceding to its own Malabo Convention, because the ratification levels are very low, very, very low. So we need to have our governments and our institutions, coming up in this and just acting or moving with speed or moving with more decisiveness to ratify the Malabo Convention. And when it comes to all these strategies, let us have one unified voice, because I think we're having a lot of different voices. Every country is coming up with its AI strategy, and then Africa itself has. There was one AU strategy and another one, and then we have something that has come up from the AI summit, which was held in Rwanda, and so we have a lot of fragmentation. So there is need to speak with one voice and to just go ahead and strengthen our IP enforcement agencies as a country. Because when I speak from Kenya's perspective, I know that there is a bit of
Excuse me.
pardon?
Oh, do you think you could wrap up?
Okay, thank you. So I'll just conclude by saying that there is need to have a better unified voice and a more progressive kind of strategies and policies coming out of Africa. Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
You're welcome. But I would just like to keep in mind that each speaker will have 5 minutes to talk about their take. And now let's head over to Lorado. Now, Lorado.
Yes, hello again. For my take on that section,
Yes.
I
Hold on, wait.
I really always say that we should go back to the fundamentals of awareness raising and
Yeah.
education.
Yes. Wait, Lorado.
I
Just
can continue.
I just haven't, asked you the question.
Oh, I thought you.
So that's okay. But
All right.
each speaker has 5 minutes to speak.
All right, noted. I'll try to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, here's the question. What are some practical ways that institutions can adopt to integrate IPR and cybersecurity strategies into the broader agenda of building regional networks? And how can this be scaled across member states?
Thank you, Fidelis, for the question. And I'll try to be as very brief as possible because we don't have time. As Faith has been presenting and talking about awareness raising, it is an important concept across the continent of Africa for all of our countries to really implement awareness raising of intellectual property and cybersecurity and that sort of education in our systems. And as it is, you'd find that many stakeholders still lack a basic understanding of intellectual property concepts and the ethical handling of sensitive data online. It is imperative that we would know what we are integrating. So if we don't know what intellectual property is, if we do not know what cybersecurity is, we wouldn't know how to integrate it. So, all of this teaching would help us to facilitate even larger growth in our structures. So, as such, targeted awareness raising campaigns and capacity building programs are essential, focusing on the relevance of IPR, data protection, and cybersecurity in today's digital and innovation-driven environment. Another critical step is ensuring familiarity and compliance with national and regional legal frameworks such as the Data Protection Act, Cybersecurity Act, Industrial Property Act, and Copyright Act. And all of these acts that I'm listing here are the ones that we have in Botswana. And I know other jurisdictions across Africa actually have these acts. So if our institutions actually know the law that would help them integrate, it would be a plus. In Botswana, these frameworks are available with data protection and cybersecurity acts being fairly new in our jurisdiction. Furthermore, I would also say that institutions should be mandated to adopt internal institutional intellectual property policies. So these policies not only foster compliance and risk management, but would also encourage the structured creation, ownership, and commercialization of IP assets. So a person, when they are working in an organization, they would know that an IP policy is going to guide the framework of the working relationship within that framework. I know the other two speakers who are working in research organizations would know and advocate for the importance of having institutional IP policies because they guide and they really advocate for commercialization of IP assets. So embedding intellectual property policies into institutional governance creates a culture in innovation and legal compliance, which is vital for regional collaboration. Another thing that we could have is regular IP audits, which are essential for institutions to identify existing IP assets, assess legal protection status, and uncover potential infringements or opportunities. So these IP audits, if they're coupled with IP portfolio management, institutions can strategically manage their innovations, ensuring that valuable IP is protected, monitored, and aligned with their research, commercialization, or collaboration goals. So this also facilitates better decision-making regarding licensing, partnerships, or enforcement. Institutions should also learn the value of collaboration. The first question was talking about regional integration and collaboration. So institutions should learn the value of collaboration in preparing for cross-border collaborations. Therefore, collaboration with industry partners like academia and government agencies should be actively pursued. We should never work in silos. So these partnerships can support knowledge exchange, promote best practices, and help turn IP and cybersecurity awareness into standard operational norms.
All right.
Similarly, cybersecurity audits should be institutionalized to identify gaps, ensure legal compliance, and stay abreast of evolving technologies and threats. So ultimately, institutionalizing IPR and cybersecurity as pillars of regional integration, supported by audits and policy frameworks and portfolio management, will safeguard innovation ecosystems, promote trust, and strengthen the resilience of the region's digital creative economies. And with that, I think I'll end here in the interest of time. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Oh, I saw that Sukini just left early, so we'll have to move on to. Well, Mira's not here, so we'll go to Mfulisteni. And your question is, how can African innovators leverage new technologies like blockchain, AI, and digital identity systems to both protect intellectual property and enhance cybersecurity? Lulu? Lulusteni?
Oh, hello. Hi. Sorry, it was that was a bit of my network. So funny enough, this is where I think I didn't hear your first question because this is where I actually started from, um, which is so how can come again, bring it again. How can African innovators leverage new technology like blockchain, AI, and digital identity system to both protect intellectual property and enhance cybersecurity? So I'll take it from the last speaker at this point, where before we develop anything or design anything or actually take into consideration the intellectual property and the cybersecurity as by definition, I think it's important that as much as digital footprint is growing in Africa and in African countries and all the continents in Africa, we still have a lot of marginalized area or underserved communities where they need more of digital awareness, which in this case, this is what I'll present to say the first thing with which is me agreeing with the first with the two speakers before me. The first thing that we will have to do is to know and note that our people are not mostly aware of what is technology at its cost, and then also what is it to do and what not to do in the cyber in the digital space, then which then bring us to a point of what first can we do, which is doing digital awareness courses like helping people in underserved communities and Africa at large to actually understand what is actually digital space and then what is digital literacy. And then from there, we actually cover topics that follows them, like your um, cybersecurity, your artificial intelligence. We need to actually work on helping people to be aware of digital space and also to be aware what is cybersecurity, what are the do's and the don'ts of cybersecurity, and also to fully define to people what are the intellectual properties and then what is it that they need to do in order for them to protect their own IP or intellectual properties. I think two speakers also spoke about ways and measures to protect and also to collaborate with other entities on in order for us to actually grow and become digital free or digital aware and digital safe. So these are the main thing that I think we'll have to first focus on those. So what are the things that we'll have to do would be the first one will be on the uh, on the laws and policies that we'll have to take for digital innovation in Africa, which one in continental, I think one of our speakers also mentioned that we need to have an African Union convention on about cybersecurity and personal data protection. And uh, I'll speak much of also another thing that we do in SA, or another law enforcement that we have in SA. We have POPIA Act, which help us to actually protect people's data or people's information. And I do know that also in Nigeria they have another POPIA. They have a similar enforcement, but it's called NDR and something, NDR something. So, and these are the things that we need to be aware of. And then we also need to leverage uh, we need to also leverage and also understand that indeed, and as much as the digital world is growing, there's actually people that are trying to actually sabotage it and like to sabotage us or sabotage the space. There are people that know this and they become the thief. And I think one of our previous speakers also mentioned something like your deep fake, and also mentioned that people like, yeah, mention your deep face. So all these things would need us to actually first teach our people what are these tools, and then what are their role. And from there we do all awareness about all the topics that you mentioned there, which is your artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? Also, artificial intelligence is a system that actually mimic the person people's doing, and then it help us to actually build tools faster, and also it can also help us predict the unknown faster and better, so we can use it for protecting ourselves, and also do frequent prompt on awareness about intellectual property and cybersecurity, and also to help people get to understand uh, blockchain, not the part of because most people, when you say blockchain, they're only thinking that, oh, you need to be trading finance in blockchain. No, people need to learn that, oh, it's about decentralizing and also protecting people's own data in the space. So I think the main concept will be for us to actually create an awareness model for people to get to know and be aware of what is it that they're getting themselves into, and to also further support another point that was made by another speaker is, instead of going as individual, can we be able to go together as a team collectively, and then we know that we are actually creating an Africa which is one and very aware of their digital space. I think those are the main keys that we need to leverage, aware, which is firstly is to make sure that people are aware of all these tools, like your artificial intelligence, your digital identity systems, your cybersecurity. Like, if we create a better awareness, then we are able to help people get to know what is it that they need to do. I'll speak of another example that happened not so long when we're doing one of the people, one of our potential ones came to us and be like, I've got an idea that I want to share with you guys, because I want you guys to develop a system for us. But I'm so scared, because what if you steal our idea and then go give it to someone, or we don't agree in finances, and then you guys end up implementing it. So this is also speaks of the rules of your patent laws. We need people to be aware that you can be able to patent your system. You can be able to also yeah, you can be able to patent your system and have an IP for it. So all these things
Excuse me.
actually play
Excuse
a
me.
major role. Thank you.
All right. And now we have Farida. Farida, what role does youth leadership and civic engagement play in promoting a cultural of digital responsibility, IP respect, and regional solidarity in Africa's digital transformation? Farida?
Yeah, so I'll say youth leadership and civic engagement play a big role in helping Africa digital world grow a positive way by encouraging digital responsibility, respect for creative work, which is intellectual property, and working together across the continent. So by this, I'll say in the matters of being responsible online, like I'll emphasize on this. Young people are great at using technology, right? And can also be responsible online. By this I mean these young people they know how to advocate. When this comes in line with advocacy because they already know how to utilize that specific thing, and also they know how to stay safe online. So by this they'll be able to teach their fellow peers on how to be kind online, and also to protect personal information, which is very important. Like for instance, someone has just come up with their own innovation and yet they don't know how to protect it. So that's where the problem starts. Also, I'll say respecting creative work, very important. When someone has come up with their own creativity, let's respect it and teach others about respecting the work of creators like musicians, artists, and developers by spreading the message that it's important to honor someone else's hard work and not to steal. Piracy. When our peers come up with their own creativity, they've just used their time, they've used some resources. So the youths will be able to teach others on how to appreciate others, so that we can bridge the gap for poor in Africa. So yeah. Also, I'll say working together across Africa. Youth leaders can encourage their peers from different African countries, yeah, from different to work together on digital projects. By this, I mean they'll be sharing their ideas and supporting each other. They'll help build a connected and strong digital community that benefits all of us as a continent. Yeah, so there is power of working together, which is teamwork. If today we work together, we'll come up with a very good innovation which will be able to help us as Africans. And this issue for intellectual property and cybersecurity, it will decrease, and later it will come to an end. I believe that. So in short, I'll say young leaders are helping shape a future where African digital world is safe, fair, and full of opportunity for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks for your time. And now, Sua. As a youth advocate, Sua, so how can universities and think tanks contribute to regional knowledge sharing and reach that bridges that gap between IPR and cybersecurity in Africa?
Yes, thank you very much. So I believe that universities have like a big major, let's say, maybe they have an opportunity to contribute and also a legitimacy to try to bridge the gaps between cybersecurity and intellectual property in research. First of all, we should not treat them as separate areas. We should try to put them together because in traditional intellectual property still raises a lot of problems like to this day. And then with the digital evolution and everything that's going with cybersecurity side, we face more problems and then through collaboration. So I believe that universities should promote the collaboration, do the first step, but it's not just it. I also believe that policymakers, that institutions themselves and laws should be harmonized. And this is why the university side is very important because it's the first step towards this. If we collaborate and we find common problems that we all have as a continent, and then we work on that, we can advise policymakers, we can make conventions, we can do a lot of positive change in across our continent, especially with the evolving economy and technological evolution. And also, I want to point out something else is that we are speaking about law, which is very important. But I want to highlight also, as the previous speaker said, the role of raising awareness and also training professionals and ethics. It starts with the research for the research. So also when it comes to research, we have a lot of problems when it comes to intellectual property rights, or even like in the fields, other fields like software or many other fields. But in this case, we should really work in an ethical way. We should have this common awareness that intellectual property is something that is a bit of a big value. And yeah, so to wrap up, I know we don't have much time. I just want to say that we should bridge the gap by working together, by collaborating. So universities, again, and researchers have a big responsibility in this field. And also, I have a general question to end with is a bit philosophical, is either law should follow like the evolution of technology to try to always like keep up with the evolution, or does it need to frame it or somehow limit it, because we can never really from a legal perspective we can never really follow what that evolution goes, because the pace is very fast. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Nde. Now, the day's now also here. Okay. Now, we're almost out of time, but but we have questions. Now, the audience has questions that they can ask in the chat box. Be sure to put your name and country and questions in the chat, and I'll pick 3 from out of the interval and request for responses from the speakers. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? Oh. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, do you have a question?
Yes. Hello, my name is Bonang Tabimba. I'm in Botswana. I've been listening to the conversations you've been having, amazing. But in terms of the readiness in totality, Africa as a whole, how far do you believe it would take, or how long do you think it would take, or how ready are governments really to be able to implement such like such practices on IP?
Does any speakers would like to respond?
Yeah, so answering this question about the time that it would probably take us to do so, I believe that we cannot really predict. It depends, first of all, of how able are we to to do so. So how much effort we're going to put, and this is why I highlight the role of the scholars and universities, because we know the gaps, we know the problems, we identified them, but then how can we push the government and the governments to try and apply that in order to resolve some of the problems or evolve a little bit.
Does anyone have a question? Okay, here's one from Issa. Are there any cyberbullying task forces that can help help minimize and counsel those that are bullied? From Sierra Leone. Rita, what's your take? Oh, Faith, what's your take on the question? Hello?
Well, I can also answer this question if may I?
Sure.
Yeah, so when it comes to minimizing bullying, we can say that we have a lot of initiatives on an international level. We can have Interpol, first of all. They address online harassment and psychological abuse. We also have the UNICEF Africa on an African level. And of course, there are like the safety hubs of Meta and Facebook, etc. And there is an initiative in the African Union that is called No Room for Hate Speech. I don't know if you heard about it. And well, I can on a national level, I can only speak about my country, and it's like the National Security Directorate and the an Institute of National Posts and Telecommunications, and of course, there is all over the globe some civil society organizations that contribute in this matter. Thank you very much.
All right. Next, we have Jonathan Gabriel. Oh, Gabriel. And he's from Nigeria. And let's see. Let's see. And he comments that he's glad that he has joined and learned a lot about from the resource speakers who have shared their knowledge and expertise. Okay. Let's see. Does anyone have any more questions?
Hi,
Yes.
my name is Jawad. I'm President of YALDA Morocco. Thank you for the all input. I just have two questions. There is no firewalls in the African internet for our young people, so they have just free access. They can watch all kind of content. So we don't have firewalls like these Chinese or the Europeans in this. We cannot even protect the content. We're speaking about sexual things or cyber, I don't know, hate crimes, radicalizations, and this. So this is number one. Number two, is there any kind of role that the diaspora, the African diaspora, can play? Talking all of these talents and engineers that we have in UK, United States, in the European Union, in Australia, from African backgrounds in different fields. Is there some kind of role they can play so we can think of that? And thank you.
Maybe if I can answer the first question. What I'll say is that it is very true that the content is not age appropriate for children. That's very, very true. That's why I was saying it is very important as Africans to come together and see what can we do about this, because it has already happened. You see, it has already happened. It is always good when instead of coming up with a new innovation, we build up on the already existing one. Like this AI thing is there, and it's not age appropriate for our kids. You see, when they go to that software, when they browse, anything just pops up. That's why I was saying earlier that someone should think before they click. And for the kids, before they do that, they usually want to know more. What's that? So, for us, maybe to come up to an end for this thing, which is already affecting our Africa, we should come together and work together and see, since these things has had already happened, us as developers, us as designers, us as innovators, what are we going to do so that we can put this thing to an end, which I believe it is very possible. Thank you.
Okay, now we have another question from Darwin. And he says, are there plans to educate and empower refugee-led organizations in cyberspace protection? I repeat, are there plans to educate and empower refugee-led organizations in cyberspace protection?
Yes, so maybe if I can take this one too, I will say yes, because earlier I started saying by saying it is very necessary to have peer-to-peer education, which is advocacy. So you'll find there are these youth who are informed and they know what is being expected in the tech world and also in the online space. So, and also they're innovators, which leads us to the intellectual property and how to navigate in the on the online world, which is safely, which is cybersecurity. So you'll find some youth, they are very informative. So with this, they're able to teach others, like the refugees, the way he has said. Yes, so it's very possible.
Now then, are there any more questions?
Actually, concerning this matter, I believe that there is some initiatives or strategies sometimes, but in the African context, I think there is still a need for more localized and multilingual practical cybersecurity trainings across, well, refugee hosting countries. So, yeah, and I also want to add that I don't remember which speaker said that the youth know how to use the internet and how to protect themselves. They really know how to use the internet, but I think the protection matter is still very far behind. And the testament is what we see currently going on in the world. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. And even Hulu even sent out initiatives supporting digital protection for organizations. So there's UNHCR Digital Protection Strategy. They have developed digital transformation strategies that emphasizes the importance of digital inclusion and protection for refugees, and also training kit for empowering refugee-led community organizations. This program is designed to support refugees in forming organized and effective communities. And even Darwin even put the DAB Refugee-Led Organization Network, which is a coalition of refugees-led organizations operating within the Dadaab refugee camps in Garissa County, Kenya. It serves as a unified platform to amplify refugees' voices and promote local leadership and coordinate efforts in areas such as advocacy, education, livelihoods, protection, sports, peace building, and community development. Their mission is to strengthen refugee agency and self-representation through coordination, advocacy, and partnership with humanitarian actors and government bodies. Activities in this organization include advocacy for refugee rights and inclusion, organizing peace-building forums and community dialogues, promoting sports for social cohesion and youth engagement, implementing education and digital literacy programs, capacity building and research collaboration with partners like Samuel Hall and UNHCR, and responding to GBV, supporting people with disabilities environmental protection initiatives. And even SUA even addressed a few more initiatives. There is also UNHCR's digital inclusion strategy, which went from 2020 to 2024, International Rescue Community, and Refugee Connect Technology Initiatives, and UN Global Compact on Refugees Innovation. Okay. Now then, We also urge you all, so as we come close to the end of our session, I urge all participants to follow YALDA on all our social media page accounts and register for our mailing list for latest news on African development, employment, scholarship opportunities, and inspiring African youth stories. Please see all of our social media handles displayed and also scan the QR code to follow. And now, I would like to ask all speakers for their 1-minute conclusion to wrap up for the last 10 minutes. Who would like to go first?
Yes. So just to wrap up, I believe that in order for Africa to be digitally sovereign, innovative Africa, we must build legal bridges through collaboration and harmonization of the legal frameworks, and also to connect and protect what we invent, and also where we share it and when we share it. And this is very important because sometimes I can protect something in Morocco, but it is not protected abroad, and therefore it has no value outside of the borders. So I believe this is also very important, or sometimes even for cyber crimes that sometimes are going cross border. So we need a lot of collaboration between institutions and research collaboration and harmonization. And well, this work begins with us. Universities, researchers, and platforms like this one. I want to thank you again for this. And this is why I'm happy to contribute, and I'm happy to have opened this debate about this topic. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Suha. Who would like to go next?
I would like to go next. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity and for everyone that was here, and also the valuable inputs that we shared together in this platform. I think we've covered a lot in a short period of time. I think these are things that we need to do once in a while. So I think one other thing that I would like to emphasize is the key factor of for us to build an Africa which is very aware of their digital space, is we need to emphasize on educating these people, and also to be mindful that we are still young. We are just a young giant which is growing, and then we are waking up to this wake up call, and which would have to bring us back to talking about us staying more focused and keep on collaborating more. If one person from the other end of the continent is doing something, we must all share in the group that we have, and also to also lend a help to each other, because that way we are able to build one Africa that is one united, two as digital aware and as cyber free, or not necessarily free in that way, but we are very technologically advanced because we are helping one another to achieve a greater goal. So let's keep going forward, and let's do this once in a while. And thank you for this opportunity today here.
Thank you, Fulu. And how about Farida?
First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank the moderator, my fellow speakers, and the listeners. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. It is very helpful. And together, for those who are informative, please let's join hands and let's educate our fellows who don't know. By this, we should work as a team. Yeah, we should work as a team. And I repeat, we should work as a team. It is very important. With that, we'll reach far. So, and to other people, be careful while using your gadgets. It can be your computer, your games. Be very careful of these pop-ups, which usually pop-ups, because we usually have different types of malware. We have ransomware, and it is very dangerous. They can even lock you from your computer, and they just demand you to pay for you to use it, and yet you are not guaranteed. While you pay, you'll get back your innovations, which could be an app you've just developed, or even a toy you've just created. Yeah, it is very important to protect our intellectual property. Very important. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now let's see. Oh, Miriam Lamini, you have a question?
Hi, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yes.
I want to thank everybody here. My name is Miriam Lahmidi. I'm a master's student in civil and land law from Morocco. I want to thank my professor, Professor Suha, and I'm truly honored to take part in this important conversation on the connection between intellectual property and cybersecurity and how both are key to Africa's development. Yeah. I invite all of us to reflect on this one question. How can we ensure that our digital protection strategies are inclusive and reach even the most marginalized creators, including those in conflict zones or displaced settings? And thank you once again for your time, for your attention, and for the opportunity to share my voice among such passionate and inspiring participants. Thank you.
And I see that Edward Smolia is raising his hand. Do you have a question? Edward?
Yeah, I'm Edward from Ghana, and I'm glad to be part of this organization. And for so long, we have integrated to Africa to get a stabilized organization. I love the room and I love every aspect of it. My question is, as Africa, joining hands together, how can we best, emancipate the influence of cybersecurity alongside intellectual properties to amass the influence of the growing youth in their actions against any non-political decisions that will bring forth to instability in running this administration of Africa at large?
You repeat the question? What was your question? Edward? Okay. Well, we're almost out of time, so I would like to thank everyone and the speakers for giving me this opportunity to moderate today's webinar and to learn so much about intellectual property rights and cybersecurity. I would like to thank Valencia and the speakers too. So that's it. So I hope everyone will have a great day and a great night, and take care, and we'll see you next time at the next one.
Thank you very